One. Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. NWA Spotlight makes its return in 2025. Before we get through to my guest, let's introduce my co-host, my Scottish psychopath herself, Miss Fiona Loughran. Evening.
Psychopath, really? Hi, how are you doing? That was charming. I'm delighted to be here, obviously.
I'm sure you are. Well, Fee, we spoke earlier. We've done the NWA Power Review for the last Samhain show earlier on today. And we're talking to someone today who was part of Samhain. Well, at least his client was also a part
Mhm.
of Samhain. Winning obviously got some gold in his hands as well. And he's remarkably coming back after some serious health issues as well, which is great to see. He's in great health. It is, of course, Blk Jeez himself. How are you, sir?
Pretty good, pretty good. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for joining us. Much appreciated.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us for sure. And geez, you come back in NWA nearly, say, coming on a year now, I suppose, near enough, there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I think I came back in was it was it February?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
got
I
to be
think
nearly a
there or
year now.
thereabouts.
It was the Alabama show. So
Yeah,
yeah, it was like February.
about a year ago. And obviously, you was out for a while. We'll get into that in a minute. But what were like the fundamental differences that you saw from when you left to NWA for that time to coming back this time near enough this time last year?
Fundamentally,
Hmm.
um, well, the change for me was when I left, uh, EC3 and I were aligned
Hmm.
in sort of a group. Um, so when I came back, uh, I formed a group with Big Strong Men's. So that's the change that happened for me. Aside from that, it was business as usual. NWA is always trying to do everything possible to better the product, get more dates going, more cities, more towns, and they also uh, got some more territories going. So that's always a good thing. Advancing the
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, it certainly is. We was going to get onto that, the territories. Is that really going back? I mean, obviously old school, even before we was all, I suppose before we was all born, really. That was how it was all, the territories was how it was all going. Obviously, WWE monopolized all of that, and now NWA are actually doing it. But is that also massively important for the NWA that they can bring in these younger, like obviously, maybe train up these younger stars from these territories and create the stars for the NWA for the future?
Yeah, it's very important. It's always important to build younger stars. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the vets, we're not going to be able to do this forever. So it's always good to have a bunch of vets in the locker room with younger talent, keeping them um putting them in the right direction. You know what I mean? Seeing whatever weaknesses or bad habits they have to get rid of those bad habits, and like train them and get them comfortable with TV wrestling, get them comfortable with telling stories, get them comfortable with cutting promos, things of that nature. You know what I mean? Those are the little things that are like sort of lost a little bit. You know what I mean? Some companies, their product focuses on having the 5-star matches, which is good. There's always an audience for that. But the more important stuff, in my view, is knowing how to tell a story, knowing how to talk, knowing how to get the audience emotionally involved into things, and you do that by being a character.
And
Absolutely.
you
Go
can
on, Fee.
talk. You
Yeah.
can talk. I love your promos on the mic. They've
Thank
all been outstanding. But just going back to you talking about the younger talent and the newer talent, obviously you've got Mims and you're guiding him through to potentially another championship down the line. Is there any of the new talent that's coming through that you're looking at thinking, they could become part of Church's Money Enterprises?
there is. I actually have my eyes on a couple of people. I'm not going to mention any names. People are just going to have to wait and see, keep watching, because I'm always thinking, I'm always planning ahead, and like I said, man, I have my eyes on a couple of talented younger individuals. So it's going to be good.
Watch this space then.
Huh?
Watch this space.
Yep, yep.
This space in 2025. One of the things that has come out also, geez, in the last sort of 6 months has been a program that the WWE ID, for argument's sake, and one of the wrestlers that has been there, obviously Hunter Drake, has been ID'd recently. It didn't. I mean, it hasn't come as a surprise to obviously myself and Fee because we've been watching quite a lot of the territories, looking at it because we like to know when they come into it. We like to know a bit about them before they get there, so to speak. But do you think is that going to hinder people, or is that actually a good thing that they're doing that program?
I think it's a good thing. So obviously, if they're ID, they're on WWE's radar, which is a good thing. Which,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if you're in this business, you do want to get to the top platform in the game, and obviously it's WWE. So if these younger talented individuals can be on WWE's radar and start developing faster and the best way possible, that's always a good thing. You know, they're going to be developing some young stars that have like so many years left to do this. So they have so much time to get better and become big stars and make a lot of money. So it's definitely a good thing.
Is it important though that the younger talent, when they do get ID, keep their head straight? Because you can see a lot of people that would get that, maybe get a bit of a cockiness attitude or a chip on their shoulder, like "Look at me, I'm WWE," on their own. But is it important that they just keep their focused on what they're doing and still learn from the likes of people like Aaron Stevens, yourselves, and others in the NWA?
It's very important, but also when you're young and not the most experienced, those things do happen. You know, we've all been young. We've all had a big head, you know, thinking that we knew it all. We everyone goes through that. And then eventually, you know, with more experience and more maturity, you get over that. So, you know, hopefully none of these younger cats get to the point where they're burning bridges, because that's not a good thing. You know, and, you know, veterans, we keep those things in mind. You know, we've all been there. We've all gone through that where we sort of get in our own way. You know what I mean? But as long as these kids don't completely get out of line, they should be fine. It's a learning process. Everything is a learning process. Everything gets better with experience and maturity. So I like to think that this younger talent is going to be good, you know?
Yeah, let's hope so. Go on, Fee, because I know you're waiting to ask
Now,
questions.
I want to go back to your current run with Mims at the moment. Obviously you've been with him for some time. You've helped lead him to the National Heavyweight Championship, which
Mm-hmm.
is amazing. He's held that for a little while now. Is there anyone on the roster that you think's going to be a real threat to him in that belt and him keeping hold of it?
I mean, I like to think that, you know, everybody in the locker room is gunning for Mims. You know what I mean? I mean, they should be. National Heavyweight Championship is a prestigious title.
Absolutely.
You know, coming up on I believe, the 40th anniversary of that title in January. So, I mean, Mims is in the driver's seat. Mims is at the top of the mountain. So, Mims got to, you know, keep his eyes open. I'm right there to make sure that nobody's sneaking up on him. But, you know, there's a lot of talented people in the locker room that you know, they feel that they'll be a better champion than Mims. You know what I mean? It's a lot of people in there that they're talented enough to get a title shot. But, you know, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to knock them down and stay in the winner's circle.
Indeed. One of the things. Oh, go on, Fee, go on.
No, I was going to say, what was it about Mims that made you think, yeah, he's my boy?
All right, so the entire time back in the Idol Mania Sports Management days when Mims was trying to get that TV title from Tyrus, I saw the talent. You know, from day one, he was hungry, he was ambitious, he wanted to win. He had a fire, but the one thing that he was missing was direction. You know, so timing is everything. So the timing was right for Mims and myself to come together as a unit and make sure that he stays on the right track. Like I said, the talent was there. I'm there to guide him and help him ruffle the feathers and like knock down the doors, you know, because, you know, Mims is a younger guy. Sometimes when you're a younger guy, you don't want to rock the boat. That's what I'm there for. You know, I've been around long enough and I've been known to rock the boat to make things happen. So that's what I'm doing, making things happen, helping Mims get to the top of the mountain and one day be the face of the NWA. That's the
Well,
plan.
it certainly seems to be working for you both, that's for sure.
Definitely. I
That
appreciate
certainly does. One of the things that I think me and Fee spoke about before is when Mims was having these opportunities, he did seem to perhaps, I don't know, maybe take his eye off what was going on. There was obviously sometimes there was outside interference and bits and pieces like that. Is that something that you drill into him, that you've got to always keep focus on what's actually going on in the ring and let the outside be the outside?
exactly. Stay focused. Don't be afraid to don't be afraid to play dirty. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because at the end of the day, you want to win. At the end of the day, you want championships, you want prestige. You want people to mention your name with respect. So don't be afraid to be as aggressive as possible. Don't be afraid to get as intense as possible. I'm going to be out there to do a little cheating, you know what I mean? So don't be afraid to do it. Do any and everything it takes to win and get to the top of the mountain. Rock those boats, piss people off. That's how you do things. That's how you get things done in this game.
We have seen a little bit of that because I think in your last match, you were ringside with a little gold platter that seemed to have gotten involved potentially, that might have done Mims a little favor.
Hey, like I
Or do you
said,
not know anything that or was I imagining that
hey,
potentially?
at the end of the day, the only thing people are going to remember is who won and who lost, and they're going to remember that Mims is still the champion. I mean, Burchill, he put up a fight. Burchill is a beast, man. Like he's a monster. He's definitely has the track record of being a champion. You know what I mean? So he's not a slouch. But like I keep saying, you got to do any and everything to get the win. That's what's important.
Certainly is. And coming up, and I know for you're going to laugh at this because I've been saying this for ages, but coming up at Shockwave, Mims has another problem. And that problem is someone who I've kept saying for ages is going to be debuting in the NWA, and that is Mike Mondo. Who everyone knows familiar. He was former WWE Tag Team Champion and whatnot, and he's looking in fantastic shape. So Mims has got to be kept on guard when Mike Mondo comes to town next weekend at Shockwave.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, Mike Mondo is another one. He has that experience. You know what I'm saying? He stands out any and everywhere that he's at. Like you said, he's in great shape. He's a monster, man. He takes this serious. It's not a game to him. He puts in the work, and after all these years, he's still hungry to make a name for himself. You know what I mean? And I gotta respect that. But Mims is ready for the challenge. He's ready to continue to prove whoever might still think that he's not the guy. He's still ready. He's ready to continue to prove those people wrong. And NWA, they stacking the deck. Last time it was Burchill. This time it's Mondo. Two dominant dudes, and Mims is going to leave Texas still national heavyweight champion. I'm calling that right now. Mims is going to walk in champion, and he's going to leave still the champion. But Mondo is going to put up a hell of a fight, though. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, he definitely will. I've actually had Mike on the show as well previously before he come to the NWA. But speaking of championships, I do have to mention, you mentioned there about stacking the deck. Well, we've got a championship, that the actual podcast has a championship over here in the UK. And I had that thrown back in my face at the last show because the champion felt as if we were stacking the deck against him. So he threw the championship back at me and took his ball and went home and is now refusing to defend said championship.
Oh,
So.
wait a minute. How many days was that? How many days ago?
Oh, this was back in November, so this is like a month. He was meant to be defending it in February, but yeah, that isn't happening now. He's not defending. So.
Hey, man, you might have to strip him of the title. Hold some type of tournament,
Well, we're doing the number one contenders. We're doing the number one contenders match come February, so that's what we're going to be doing at the show. But yeah, I just brought back memories of that belt flying over to my face during that last show, which wasn't very nice. Go on, Fee.
No, let me just think. You kind of caught me on the guard there on the hop there. So you've obviously you're managing Mims, and we have seen you wrestle in the NWA ring yourself before. Is that something that you're wanting to go back towards, or are you preferring to stick to the more kind of management side of things?
Well, when I first came to NWA, my mindset was wrestling because NWA was the company that I fell in love with as a young guy. You know what I mean? So to get the opportunity to be in the NWA, I was losing it. I was losing my mind, And then once word came out that they were bringing back the junior heavyweight championship, I was like, oh my God, that's my dream belt right there. So, and then when I was put in the role to be a manager, it was sort of difficult for me to accept it fully because I still wanted to be in there taking the bumps and doing my thing. And getting that recognition as a wrestler in the NWA. But as time went on, I started enjoying it more. I was getting more of an opportunity to talk, and I love the camera time. I love talking. I love being in the high profile matches. And the entire time that I was out there with Tyrus, I was in the high profile matches, still getting that TV time. So little by little, I started accepting it more to where now, every now and then, I want to put on the boots and get in there and do the wrestling, but I'm really happy with being a manager now. I had my time with traveling the world and doing this and that in the ring, so I've acquired the knowledge and the track record to be able to help others. Fulfill dreams and get better. So I'm enjoying being a manager. But anytime that it's time for me to put the boots on and get in the ring, I'm still all for it too. But I'm definitely enjoying being the top manager in NWA.
You are definitely the sharpest dressed one, that's for sure. No offense to Aaron, but you always bring your A game at the shows, so
I appreciate that. That's another thing, man. I like to call myself a fashionable guy, so I get to go out there wearing my fly stuff and talking my talk. So it's a win for me.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not sure if, as you say, Aaron Stevens may have something to say about the best manager. Maybe Austin Idol may have, but hey, that's down to them. Let them argue amongst themselves.
Yeah, I mean, two top-notch managers, and anytime that I get a chance to get on the mic with either of them, that's a good thing.
Yeah, oh, it definitely is. One guy that I really love talking, one guy that I really like on the microphone isn't in the NWA now that he was, and I know you were tag team champions with him, is Eddie Kingston. What was it like working with Eddie Kingston those years ago?
Oh man, I met Kingston years ago at Chikara. And like the first time that I saw him performing, I was like, yo, this dude reminds me of like somebody that I grew up with. You know what I mean? It was his presence, it was his talking, you know what I mean? He was always talking trash, you know what I'm saying? And like that's something that I appreciate. So man, when we were in the group Blackout, man, it was fun times. And at the time, my speaking skills wasn't there yet, but his was. And you can't help but get better when you're around somebody that can talk at the level that he can. You know what I mean? So all those years being around him, being in that group, I learned to get more comfortable with talking. You know what I mean? Because for a long time when the camera was off, I was good at talking. But as soon as the camera came on, I would just get scared. I would just you know what I mean? But it was just a learning process. And I definitely learned from Eddie as far as talking and getting my point across, you know what I mean? And Eddie went on to be very successful. He's out with injury now, but best believe when he comes back, man, he's going to be on fire like he's always been.
Yeah, I can't wait for Eddie to come back. I still need to see my friend at All In caught Eddie Kingston's shirt, well, his dad caught Eddie Kingston's shirt that he threw into the crowd at Wembley, and I need to make sure that I try and steal that in some way. Some way, shape, or form. But you did have a brief match in the WWE, I believe, against Ryback.
Yeah, yeah.
How was that? And when you went there, was it like it? Because everyone says, and I've listened to people, we've had WCW stars on that have made the jump to WWE, and they were like, it was like going from black and white to TV when they went from WCW to WWE. What was that experience like working in the WWE? It may have only been briefly, but what was that experience like?
It was a great experience. It was a learning experience. And I think this was back in maybe 2012.
Yes.
So my experience level wasn't where it is now. You know what I mean? So It was definitely a learning experience. It was I was definitely a little nervous, But as far as Ryback goes, he was very professional. He was safe. He took care of me. good dude, you know, and it was all positives, you know. Strangely enough, as nervous as I was when we were out there in the ring with the camera on, I wasn't nervous. I felt at home, you know, and I remember things going pretty well, you know. The job was to help Ryback look good. He was going to do that himself, but you know, my job for the night was to you know, do my part to make him look even more like a monster, and I think we did it, you know. So
Yeah,
it was good times.
it certainly was, and he certainly did, from what I remember it vaguely. I remember it from back then. But look, let's just talk about the illness. I mean, that took you out of action. I mean, what? I obviously can never prepare yourself for anything like that. It must have been absolutely, you know, horrific. I mean, as Fee knows, I suffered heart failure last 2 years, nearly 2 years ago. And I missed, funny enough, I missed that all in that I just discussed because of I was in hospital. I got released that day, and obviously nothing could prepare me for that. For me, I was 500 miles away from my home, from my son, from everyone else. I was actually staying with my parents at the time. And lucky enough, I never had any I never went into a cardiac arrest or anything like that. It was a case, however, was if I didn't go into hospital on the day that I did, 2 days later, well, we wouldn't be having this conversation because I wouldn't be here. That's the thing. But obviously, I can prepare myself for that. How do you actually sort of physically process everything when you're being told you've got these issues and everything's going on?
At first, when I was told, it just didn't feel real, and it didn't
Hmm.
hit me. It didn't really hit me until so I got diagnosed and I was in the hospital for a week.
Hmm.
Then once I went back home, I looked in the mirror and I saw how I looked. That's when it hit me hard, because for years, like, you know, it's wrestling. It's an industry where how you look is very important.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time working on my look. So like once I didn't have that anymore, like I was crushed. And like that's when it started affecting me mentally. Throughout the whole entire process, I mean, there was a bit of physical pain, but nothing like the mental pain. Like I was just gone mentally, and I feel like I like lucky for me, I had a lot of people in my corner keeping me positive, you know, and I'm someone that's used to doing for others. So
Yeah.
one thing that I had to get used to people doing things for me, and it was very difficult for me to accept it. It was frustrating, and
Hmm.
because I wasn't mentally there, I know that um, dealing with like a lot of my loved ones and my friends, I know it was rough for them to deal with me because I became a very negative person, you know.
Hmm.
And I thought that I wasn't going to get over it, but you know, it was a process. I and like, you know, your friends will tell you, I'm here for you, man. Just hit me up whenever you need. And like for a while I wouldn't do it because I was just stubborn, I guess too proud to do it. And then friends knowing how my personality is, they would hit me up. It's like, hey, I know you're going through it. Like I said, hit me up whenever you need. It just stayed on me. And then whenever I was feeling bad or down, having those bad mental days, I would just call my friends, you know, shoot them a text, reach out to them. And they were there for me the entire time. The crazy thing is, like with this industry, there's a lot of times where you might have negative interactions with some people, you
Hmm.
know? And the crazy thing is, there were people that I didn't necessarily have the most positive interactions with in the past. They reached out and they were there for me. And man, that was eye opening. So it
Hmm.
was like throughout that whole process, man, I was just like, man, like there's no way that I would ever like automatically judge anyone, you know? I guess that's the best way to say it, you know what I mean? Like so many people that I didn't think cared or didn't know who I was, they showed that they cared. Because one thing about the wrestling community is, you know, a lot of times there's a lot of like I guess, professional jealousy, professional envy. But when one of the boys goes down, like the rest of the boys, they reach out.
Yeah.
They try to make sure that you're good. And I definitely appreciate that. So it was a long process, mentally frustrating, but once I recovered and got back to where I'm at, man, I was really happy about it. And I definitely want to give a shout out to like all of the boys, all the girls in the game that reached out to me a lot. Like so many of the fans, they reached out, man. It was just like the support that I had was overwhelming. That's the best way I could say it, man. I appreciate it all.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel that because I had exactly the same. So it took me. I mean, I was joking when I was in the room. So when I was, so to put it, when I walked into the room, my blood pressure was 238 over 136, and the doctors they originally said like, I don't know how you've walked into the room. It's you shouldn't be walking basically, and I didn't process anything. And the only time that I managed to sort of get it in my head that there's something seriously wrong was when they said when we take you to, so I was in a little sort of like a little hospital. They were taking me to like the big hospital where they got the cardiac unit and stuff. And they said, if you do go into cardiac arrest, can we resuscitate you? And that was the time for me where it became, I was laughing and joking beforehand about stuff, thinking I'm just gonna, because I had an infection for like 3 weeks. And I was thinking, they're just gonna give me some tablets. I'll be maybe in here a day or two, and then I'll be out and I'll be fine. And it was at that point when I realized, no, something's actually not quite right at all. And again, you mentioned about support. I mean, Fiona was messaging me nearly every day. I had the support people that in the business that when they realized something's wrong, you're surprised. And you kind of mentioned there about the people that you may not have had the best relationship with. I was surprised with how many people that, although knew me from the fact that I've been to shows, were reaching out. Zach Knight was one of them. So Paige from WWE,
Yeah.
her brother Zach,
Mhm.
he reached out. He was messaging me. Robbie X, who's a talent over here, and you know this, Fee. Robbie X at All In video called me and was saying like, how are you doing and stuff. And it's just incredible that outreach of that definitely helped you through what was such a difficult stage for me as well. Worse so for me being 500 miles away from my son, who I obviously couldn't see and didn't know if I was ever going to see for a while. Fortunately enough, a bit like yourself, fully recovered now, and oh yeah, just thankful for everyone and everything like yourself there. It's a bit of a thing. But on that note, Fee, can you take the next question? Because I don't like talking about that now.
Oh, okay. But just kind of to touch on that though, like that, how did that first live event feel for you and walking back in NWA, walking out in front of the fans and walking back in front of the screens and just being like, I'm back. How was that for you?
Man, it felt good, but at the same time, I was nervous. Like I was just thinking, like, are they going to even care? You know, am I going to be able to get the words out without stumbling, without breaking down? And like as I'm talking, it was quiet, and then like I was just like, oh, here we go. And then like I heard like a couple people like you know how it is. Like as soon as somebody starts talking, once it gets quiet, somebody will say something to
Yeah.
throw you off your game. But like once it happened, I just took it all in and just kept going. And then eventually, you know what I mean, the crowd got behind it. And then once that happened, I was like, I'm home, baby. It's time to go. You know what I'm saying? So like overall, once I finished, it felt good, and I just knew that I was back, and I was just ready for more.
Yeah, I remember that moment on watching that on Power. It was great to see when that happened for us. And I didn't I hadn't been watching Power as long as Fee. So I've been Fee, you introduced me what 2 years ago now? Would you
Yeah,
say
pretty much.
around 2 years, near enough? We've covered nearly 100 powers. That's
Okay,
I think we're on 75 that we've covered for the podcast. So
nice.
we're going to get 100 powers. We're going to have to get people on for the 100th episode, by the way, Fee. We'll have to
We
have a
can,
think
yeah,
about that. But
absolutely.
geez, when it comes to the NWA now, and we've mentioned the likes of Mike Mondo, they had the Colognes there recently as well. Does that show the kind of the reputation it's now getting that these types of names want to come in and work for the NWA? That these names that have been just released by the WWE want to come in because they can see what NWA are actually doing.
Yeah, definitely. It means the NWA is on the rise. Anytime you have like a lot of these proven people, like these are people that have proven themselves in the top company in the game. For them to want to be in NWA, that's a good thing. You know what I mean? NWA is creating a buzz, you know, and it's always good to have proven names on the roster. You know what I'm saying? It what it does is it helps make the product even better. So that's always a good thing, you know.
Yeah, definitely. So go on, Fee.
And
Yeah.
I was going to say the other way as well, you've had some phenomenal names that kind of were in NWA that have gone on to do other things and greater things. And I know that we sit and look at the roster and we sit and watch some matches every now and again, and we're like, I hope they stay for a while. But you think you can see their trajectories going that way as
Yeah,
well. There's some big, I think for a lot of the roster, particularly the younger roster, there's a lot of big things coming.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, and that happens. Everybody's journey is different, you know. Some people they come in like with the younger talent, like they come in, they start establishing themselves NWA, and then other companies are interested. I mean, that's a good thing. That's showing that NWA is building individuals that can, you know, go on to other platforms and do their thing. You know, I mean, it's always a good thing. So
Definitely so. One division in particular is the women's division in NWA. Me and Fee wax lyrical about this time and time again. We can't talk enough about it. We would put it up there against the women's division anywhere in any company. It is that good. But does it sometimes, do you sit there and obviously I know you've got Jazz and people like that working with them at the back, but do you sometimes just sit there and go, "Well, this is like beyond what we can even think about," when you see people like Kenzie at 22 or whatever is it, Kylie at 21 doing what they do, and they're so good at so young. Obviously, they've been sponges and they run their obviously the territory down in Crossfire. But does it sometimes surprise some of the talent just how good they really are?
I mean, it just shows that they're hungry and they really want this. And also, like you said, they're sponges and they're around a lot of veterans that can help guide them and you know what I'm saying, break them out of whatever bad habits they might have and get them prepared for a long future in the business, you know. So like it's always a good thing.
Definitely. So, Fee, as we wrap up, I always give you the honor of the final question that we're going to ask our guests. So, no pressure. First one of
No,
2025, Fee, make it good.
I'm gonna make this one an easy one for you, Jeez. If you were to set foot back in the ring as a
Mhm.
wrestler with the current NWA roster, which match would be your dream match? Who would be your dream opponent in the current roster?
Hmm. Let's see. Uh Man, I mean, there's a like honestly, there isn't just one, man. There's a lot of people on the roster that I love to get in the ring with. I love to be in the ring with Aaron Stevens.
Mhm.
He's um Tom Latimer. I mean, I could go all day just name dropping. You know what I'm saying? I love to so like on the Indies, me and Joker, we had a team called Philly's Most Wanted.
Mhm.
And there was a time where we were like killing it in the tag team division. I love to tag with tag with Joker to go against Blunt Force Trauma. You know,
Nice. And then you'd get Aaron as well.
yeah,
So
I love to have another match, another singles match with Homicide. You know what I'm saying? He's someone that I looked up to. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? I was coming up, and then to earn his respect and be a colleague. You know what I'm saying? To the point where we would bounce ideas off each other. You know what I'm saying? He's still my mentor, but you know what I'm saying, we're family. You know what I'm saying? So um and like that match that I had with him for the junior heavyweight title, that was a dream match for me. Like although we've been in the ring with each other all over the indies, doing it one on one in the NWA ring, that was really special to me, you know. So again, there's a lot of people on the roster that I'd love to get in the ring with if I was to put the boots back on.
Never say never.
Yeah, definitely. Never. You can't. Yeah, that in this business, you can never say never say never in this business. You never know. You know what I'm saying? I'm out there managing, but you never know, man. You might turn into power and see me back in there in the ring, taking that junior heavyweight championship or the
I'd
team.
love to see that, man. I'd love to see you back in that ring.
Well,
Appreciate that. Thank you.
We hope to see you, but we'll certainly see you back in the ring anyway on Power, even if it's not in action as obviously the manager of Mims. But geez, it's been great talking to you. Look, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. The first NWA Spotlight 2025. We can't wait to see what's next for you, what's next for the NWA. We'll be keeping an eye on it across here, from across the pond, shall we say. So big thanks for that. But Fee, you've got some tours coming up this year that you need to plug. So
Yeah,
please
I
go
do.
ahead.
I do. Inside the Ropes, I've got some shows coming up at the end of January and then in March. So the end of January, beginning of February, we have 3 dates with Jim Ross in London, Manchester, and Glasgow. And then in March, we have 3 dates with Ted DiBiase, and we've also got 3 dates with Jim Hacksaw Duggan. So itrtix.com. All the shows are in London, Manchester, and Glasgow. Yeah, so head over to ITRTix and grab your tickets and come and join us for the night.
I will certainly be joining you in London for Jim Ross, because I have to come and see you more than Jim Ross. Well, not well, of
Obviously.
course, more than Jim Ross. But coming up on the show, the NWA Spotlight will continue with Hollywood Haley J coming up next week. We've got CW Anderson from ECW coming on as well. So keep it locked on that HTT Buckle on X, on YouTube, and Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. But for now, Fee, thank you very much as ever. Big thanks to our guest, Blk Jeez. We look forward to seeing him on Power. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and good night.